All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank y'all. I do want to, if it would be a friendly motion, we will make sure that it takes place immediately. That way she will be able to be seated at the next Cap Metro board meeting to go ahead and get moving. Yeah, and so the second one under that same agenda item is the elected official appointment to the Cap Metro board that this body makes. This one, I wanted to do these separately because there is a smaller number of people that are eligible to vote on this one per the statute. The people that can vote on this slot are if you represent the city of Austin on this board, if you represent Travis County, if you represent Leander or myself are the ones that are eligible to vote. When this was announced last month, the only person that reached out to me was Councilmember Ellis on the particular topic. So I went with the assumption that if people were interested that they would reach out. I didn't hear anybody else, so I would say, Councilmember Ellis, I recommend your appointment to the board, to the Cap Metro board from CAMPO. And that's a second. I thought you were giving me a peace sign, but that is actually a second. So a second by Councilmember Alter. Is there any, and again, this is the people that can vote on this are Travis County reps, City of Austin reps, myself, and Mayor Delisle. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you all for that. I appreciate your willingness to serve and congratulations. And we will reach out to Diane and make sure that she gets connected with the Cap Metro folks very soon. So thank you all for that. Item number 9, discuss carbon reduction. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry, number 8. I skipped. I am jumping ahead. Project discussion. This is, I think, Heather, you're going to give us the update on this.
Just a minute while we tee it up here. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, so the agenda item today, I think, says something about an action, but this is just informational purposes only to let you know kind of what the next few months entail in terms of the 2024 UTP. What I'm going to go over today is just the 2024 UTP, which is projects starting in September of 23 and on. So, which one is it? That one. All right, so, so this is just I think they've copy and pasted this slide on every UTP since I've been at TxDOT, but it's pretty much it means that that the UTP, the 10-year program, is just a planning and programming tool, and so projects go through different phases of development. And the 10-year, it's a fiscally constrained plan, as you all know. You have one as well. It's the fiscally constrained plan. It's not a guarantee that projects will go to construction, but the good thing is we do have a healthy balance of forecasting this year. So the Unified Transportation Program, for those of you that might not know, is our 10-year plan in funding development of projects. It has 12 different categories of funding, which I'll go over here in a minute. And so what happens in the development process is strategic goals and performance measures are established. Planning forecasts are done in coordination with finance and the comptroller, and then we as the Austin District submit draft projects in December, but the January commission meeting, which this was from, is what we all look forward to when we get our statewide allocations, and then later on we get our district allocations. So this right here kind of shows you where we are in the process. We got our district allocations about a week ago, and on February 21st is our deadline to submit projects based on our allocations that we have ready to go. So this is a difference in kind of the forecast from last year. Last year we had about 80 billion in the 2023 UTP. This year we're anticipating 90 billion in the UTP, and you can see the changes in funding there between the categories to make up that 10 billion. So these are the different categories of funding. There are categories from the IIJA, State Highway Funds, Prop 1, Prop 7, and the Texas Mobility Fund. Now, the IIJA covers CAT 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, CR, the carbon reduction, which Lori was talking about. CAT 5 is something the Austin District doesn't get. Federal earmarks are CAT 10, and CAT 10, 11 are state riders and sub-programs. So this, what I'll show you in a minute, will show kind of the allocations that we've gotten statewide. So this here shows the category on the left, 1 through, there's all different kinds of the categories we went through before. That first column is the 2023 UTP distribution. You can see down there it's 85 million. And then the 24 UTP is 95 billion. And the difference in the categories can be seen there. And I highlighted the 2 for R, rural, and 4U, urban, and the CAT 7, the MPO money, and 12 strategic priority and clear lanes. So we got a considerable amount more in the statewide balances on these, and so I'll go over next kind of what this means for the deferred projects. So the top box there shows, all the different stages of previously refunded projects. So the very first one there in the purple is in the 2023 UTP. We refunded $31 million worth of projects. The $18 million there is we refunded with energy sector money that we have district discretionary or safety money. The CAMPO CAT 7 deferrals is what you all had approved previously. And refunded in the 22 UTP was 87 million of that. And then there's some local money that was refunded. So that totals about 164 million out of the 633 deferred. And so the bottom box there in white is what we've submitted for draft. It's got to compete statewide, but we have been comparing it against our new construction estimates versus our allocations. So in the left column there is the previous category of funding. So that so the CAT 7 funded projects, the original estimate of the CAT 7 funded project was 25 million, but we've anticipated an increase in 22 million of that, of which we can cover with 2, 4, 8, and 12. And then the next line there is the category 2 and 4 previously deferred projects that were funded, and we're able to top those off for the inflation in the amount of 180. So our 214 million of deferred projects in categories 2, 4, and 7 are now 417 million. So it's more than double the projects that we're able to submit for this next coming UTP. And I put the projects there. The 71 grade separations are included in what we're submitting. The 620 South from 71 all the way to Hudson Bend is included. Anderson Mill grade separations, and 360 at Lakewood and Spicewood Springs. And then that really leaves 240 million deferral remaining. Some of those are TxDOT, some of those are local. So then I'm going to show you the next. So we've never been allowed in the past. We've never been allowed really much in the past to program our outer years of CAT 7, but they're encouraging us to do that now. This is kind of hard. I copied this. It's kind of hard to see, but so the UTP allocation that we have over 10 years is 473 million. We have programmed 320 million, so we have an available balance of 245 million of CAT 7 that we're able to program in the outer years. And we can bring those projects forward, but we can't, because the STIP and the TIP are fiscally constrained, we can only move that in if there's room in the TIP and the STIP. So that's good news for our projects, because we have 240 million of deferrals remaining. We have about a $245 million balance. But I will say that does not include the projects that are going this year, because we can only ask for more money starting September. So the 183A frontage road projects has some delta. And once we have a February 21st submittal of what's really going into our submittals, and once we get there, we can kind of flush out what else we're able to do. And we're going to submit more than, these are just based on our allocations, but we've been told on the 2, 4, and 12 to over submit. So we're going to be submitting even more of those. So that kind of leads into our statewide and Austin District Develop Authority. So, oh yeah, I'm sorry. So right there, this is all the 25 districts. Right there with the red star is Austin District. We are allocated $917 million in Develop Authority. But the good thing is all of those projects that we're submitting in the 24 UTP, if they get selected, we have some I-35 in that as well. If they get selected, then that'll free up quite a bit of Develop Authority. And so that's what we've been working with staff on in terms of the CAMPO corridors, because we're going to have quite a bit of Develop Authority open up with I-35 getting off our books. We're kind of moving things around with that. And then with these projects get funded, so then we can kind of talk at staff level and with the TAC and then come to the board soon. I'll close that with any questions.
We turn, based upon that presentation, again, we're not going to take action on this, but are there any questions?
I was confused on the 620 funding that was coming back. Is it, did I hear you say from 71 north to Hudson Bend?
Correct.
Okay, the slide said south to Hudson Bend. I didn't understand. I didn't understand that. But it's basically the Lakeway area.
Oh, well, we call it 620 South because it's from 183 to 71, that's the southern limit of it. So Anderson Mills in the northern limit, so
Okay.
that's
so
just
it includes the Lakeway area.
Include what?
The Lakeway, city of Lakeway?
Yes, Lakeway and Bee Caves, yeah. Yeah, we're actually able to submit funding for all the way to Hudson Bend. Before, we only got funding for Oak Grove, so this is refunding that section that had been funded.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
And we have environmental clearance on it, and so we're working on the detailed design for those.
Okay.
A lot of these are, like the 71 grade separations are ready to go. The 360 Lakewood and Spicewood have some long lead utilities, but Anderson Mill, we should be environmentally clearing that this year. And of course, what happens after environmental clearance is right-of-way acquisition and utility relocations.
Ashby, did you have a comment? Go ahead.
Thank you. So Heather, on this slide, when you walked through what was in the second box, what I thought I heard you say was some of the Cat 7 deferred projects may get Cat 2, 4, 8, and 12 put on?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
So yeah, I mean, we're just trying to load everything with whatever tool that we have in the toolbox, really, to get those funded, because they are further along in the project development process. So we just need to get them cleared out so that we can bring more in. But yeah, we're partnering on that, and we'll look for partnering as we program that outer year Cat 7 as well to bring maybe some more of the deferrals in. But we're doing everything we can. And again, in the 25 UTP, we'll have another opportunity to potentially bring more in. But we get a chance once a year for 2, 4, and 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, you had the screenshot of the outer years for Category 7 funding.
Yeah.
And I'll speak to this a little bit later under my report. So after the meeting we had last week with Planning and Programming and Brandy Hendrickson, I understand that much better. Now I'm more comfortable with it than I was before, but I would say if the board chooses to go in that fashion, we're going to have to be very strategic about what we put that on, because those things would absolutely have to be ready to go.
Right.
One of the things, and we can talk about this next meeting if we need to, is a lot of what is currently still deferred in Category 7, Ryan and I have looked at, and we're not convinced that a lot of it is ready yet, but we're working with sponsors to check that.
The two that come to mind on the deferral list that aren't included in that previous one are 79, we have it environmentally cleared, and some of in the 360 Southern, sections, and we're going to be kicking off schematic of those because it's a really good, potentially small design build for us, and so we're looking at, 79 is already environmentally cleared, but we couldn't get PS&E done quick enough anyways on it, so there's just, looking at it over today, I'm hopeful that we can get a lot of those moving, but when you said they have to be ready to go, they're going to go in the back and they can move forward if we are within our tip and stipper constraint. So, yeah.
I don't want to encourage bad behaviors.
Commissioner Beckett, I think you had a question.
Yeah. On the 71 grade separations, there were 3 projects that were deferred. Are all of them in there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I was not going to come to this meeting. I'm really glad
I think we'll see the happy dance afterwards.
Yeah, we submitted our draft projects in December, but I knew we might, it's too early to get out and say that these are all funded, but they're definitely within our allocations to submit, and we'll see. In July will be that, here, let me go back to the timeline here. So what you can expect there is, so where that red star is, that's where we are right now. February 21st, we're going to submit these list of projects and hopefully some more. And then in March, TPP kind of looks at it statewide. In April, actually they're giving us a chance this year, which we've never gotten before, to re-up our estimates, to really look at our estimates all the way through April. We used to have to submit our estimates in November and never got to touch them until they were authorized in August, but last year that really caught up with us. So they're allowing that April timeline there for us to update our cost estimates, and then they do all kinds of briefings, and then in July it'll be public comment, the statewide UTP, and then in August it will go to commission for adoption.
I think you bring up a really good point on updated estimates, because anybody that's built a road or anything vertical realizes that those, it's changing monthly, what those prices are, and we're all experiencing it on our projects.
And to begin with, a lot of these were very high-level planning, and as we get more detailed design, we update those as well. And we do have opportunities once a year to kind of add more money if we need to. But yeah, those old estimates are dated.
Any other questions of Heather? Mayor?
Yeah, I did have a question, and again, being new to the board and still very much catching up on all the legalese and transportationese, I guess. Talking about the 183 frontage roads, now I think it's our hope and expectation that would still be let in 23 as your slide notes. If that for some reason doesn't happen, how does that affect the 24 UTP if that's not being put on now?
So the interesting thing about that project is it's 100% Cat 7, and so we're not even submitting it for the 24 UTP because it's not a category of funding that is necessarily allocated in this manner. We can program more on it, but we're trying our best to keep it in August. We have a lot of hurdles in terms of the coordination with RMA. I had our meeting with them today. We're very committed to trying to make that happen in terms of getting it to the environmental clearance, getting the plans together, and getting the coordination with the RMA all settled, and then also making up that gap for inflation as well.
Okay. Heather, what would happen if we pushed it 3 weeks into September, into the next fiscal year?
Nothing really.
Okay.
I don't know. Tucker? No?
No, if it slides into next fiscal year,
Yeah.
that nothing will change.
Yeah.
It's got the money for it for 2023.
But actually, I will say that, statewide, they're really trying to hold us to our letting months, and I have a commitment to try to, both of us have a commitment to try to get that huge dollar amount let in the month that we committed to, so that's a big thing for us.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Tucker.
I just want to make a comment. Great information to cover there, Heather. Just to make sure we manage expectations. So this is our plan to submit
Are you
projects.
going to be the Debbie Downer
I
of
am
this
going to be the Debbie
conversation?
Downer, but hopefully not. But we talked about for years grade separation at 71 and 620 and through Lakeway. This is what we were submitting, and we've been asked to over-submit on the targets that we got last week. So we'll be submitting all of those projects. But this is what we're submitting. It's not approved yet, and it won't be really public until June, right, Heather, until it goes through all of the analysis with our administration. But the good news is, in the last 3 years, we've never been told to go over our targets. So I think the anticipation is we are going to have the funds to cover this level of submission for the UTP. You can see it went from $85 billion last year to $95 billion for 2024. So I'm encouraged, but this is not approved yet, and really won't be presented to the public until June and getting through all of that evaluation.
And really, we have allocations per fiscal year, and all of these are going to come in the back of the UTP. They're going to get in there, but it frees up our develop authority because it's in the 10-year, and we don't have to use that. But we have a lot programmed in the first 4 years already, but I mean, the years pass pretty quickly. But we can bring them in, like I said, if we're in fiscal constraint of our tip step.
And so in June, the draft Unified Transportation Program will go out for public comment. And I would encourage all of you, especially with projects in your jurisdictions, to submit public comment in support of this draft Unified Transportation Program. Doyce and I will remind you when it is out for public comment so you could submit. I will also go to the commission and make comments on behalf of the MPO, and I would encourage any of you that want to come and make comments to the Transportation Commission to do so.
You know the date of that meeting?
Which meeting?
The date of that August?
Commission meeting.
It's always the third, usually the third Thursday of the month.
Usually the last Thursday of the month.
Last month, Thursday, sorry.
Yeah.
So any other questions on this topic? Just a quick clarification since you talked about public comments. When do those close on 35?
March 7th.
Okay, so that information was given to us the last meeting. If you haven't had a chance to look at that, you might want to make sure if you do want to weigh in, March 7th. All right, any other discussion on this topic? All right, thank you, appreciate the update. And no more Debbie Downer, Tucker. Yes, we believe in Santa Claus here, so. All right, item number 9, discussion on the carbon reduction program. Ryan.
All right, thank you. Sorry, hopefully you can hear me okay. So just want to briefly revisit, I'm going to go through these slides rather quickly and really kind of get hone in on the funding scenarios, but just want to remind anyone who wasn't here last month is that the Carbon Reduction Program is a new program, formula program out of the IIJA. I know we were just talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, but we're going to receive approximately $22 million for the TMA through the duration of the IIJA through 2026. So really what I want to reiterate on the slide is that there is a 4-year obligation limitation. So funding starts to lapse within 4 years of it being apportioned to the region. So our 2020 funding will start lapsing in a couple of years. We had a good conversation with TxDOT last week actually, and there is some pressure to move forward with programming this funding as quickly as possible, which is what we're discussing here today, and why we need to move forward with the developing and adopting some regional reduction strategies. So I just wanted to kind of briefly talk about the planning scope again. This is going to be something, it's a regional plan that we're going to develop. We're going to develop some goals and objectives. We also are going to preemptively develop some targets for an upcoming performance measure requirement. We're going to analyze the effectiveness of the eligible activities that are listed here and figure out which ones are the best to move forward with in programming, and we're going to develop a project selection process and activity recommendation for this policy board to move forward with. And then critically, we also want to set the foundation for an air quality program to be run out of the MPO. We are the largest or second largest MPO that is in attainment in the country, and so we want to make sure that we're staying ahead of the curve. So we'll develop kind of the foundation for an air quality program to be run out of MPO. But critically, this is really what I wanted to talk about today. I think at the last board meeting, we talked about there's that requirement that on November 15th, 2023, the planning requirements become active. And so after that date, anything that we haven't programmed up until that point is really kind of locked out until we adopt that program. And so there were a couple of options that we talked about. And the first one that we took a look at was the deferred projects. As Chair Long mentioned last time, and anyone who wasn't here back in 2020, any projects that were deferred through the I-35 funding process, they kind of get prioritized for any new funding sources that they may potentially be eligible for. So that is the first thing that we looked at. So looked at allocating any current or future CRP funding for those projects. And on this next slide, I'll just talk about, we did look at all of the Category 7 projects. There were only 2 that were potentially viable. There's the Colorado Scenic Byway bike ped project, and then the grade separation RM 620. Now the scope of work meets the eligibility criteria. However, neither project is going to be ready by November 15th, 2023. So that option is kind of off the table currently. We'll revisit the deferred project list after the adoption of the strategies if they are not refunded at that time. And so the other option was allocating all or a portion of the available funding prior to November 15th, 2023. And as Lori mentioned, we had a great discussion about this at TAC, about what the best options were. And so when we looked at allocating the currently available funding, if you look there, we currently have about $7.7 million currently available, and this is minus the $1 million that was set aside for the plan development. And then on September 1st of this year, we're going to get another apportionment. And so on September 1st, we'll have a total of $12 million available prior to that November 15th, 2023 deadline. So after talking through the TAC, we looked at project readiness. Again, that's the kind of the deal killer here is project readiness. Can we get a project through the AFA process and through the FPA process? Has it been through a competitive selection process? And everything that we need to do to get it obligated in the federal system prior to that date. So that really kind of limits our choices. Really, it comes down to it needs to be an active project. And what came down to it really is the Transportation Demand Management Program that we run out of CAMPO. That's an active project that is close to running out of funding, but it has gone through a regional project selection process through this policy board. So it's regional in nature, and it has an active AFA and FPAA that we can modify quickly and add funding to it. So that is going to be the recommendation both from TAC and from staff. We're going to bring that back in a future policy board meeting to make that recommendation to the policy board, depending on the nature of the discussion today. And then the other option we looked at was really just post-plan allocation, and that is essentially just waiting to allocate all of the funding based on the outcomes of the planning process. Again, talking about inflation and project need and the urgency, both with which to spend this funding, I think it's appropriate to kind of split the opportunity, fund the TDM program, and then anything after that will be beholden to the outcomes of the carbon reduction. With that's really, I just wanted to update the policy board on that. So those are the funding scenarios we did look at, and we're going to go forward with a recommendation on the TDM program in the near future. So with that, I'll take some questions. And Ashby, I know.
And Ashby, do you have any
got a comment?
comments before we go to questions? Okay.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. So, first of all, the purpose of the planning exercise that we're looking at going through is being done so that we can go through that list of eligible activities that you saw on the second slide and determine which things give us the best return on investment in terms of reducing emissions in the region. And that way we can make a recommendation to you as this body about which things you want to focus on going forward when those types of projects come forward, so you can decide how to best deal with that. And then you also heard Ryan talk about setting up an air quality. The word that was left out was voluntary. So it is a voluntary air quality program that we're looking to set up. We are not required by federal law at this point. We are in federal air quality standards, and we are in attainment for air quality. However, if we go through this exercise and come up with our own sort of draft program, much like this body did several years ago when it chose, when Williamson and Travis counties chose to do voluntary emissions testing on vehicles, then I feel like we are in a better position to control the narrative going forward, as opposed to having it dictated to us from Washington.
And for those of you who are new to this discussion, it was probably 20 years ago that Travis County and Williamson County entered into an early action compact to do the program that Ashby was talking about with regard to inspections that were not required but opted to do. And I think those things, along with some other things in that early action compact, have helped keep us in attainment. And that's been huge for those two counties. We would love the rest of the counties to get on board with the plan and do that as well, because staying in attainment allows us to chart our own destiny versus being dictated to. And I think that we all benefit by being able to continue to manage those things locally.
That was it, Madam Chair.
Yeah, okay. And then, so the RFP is going out for the consultant. That will come back to the policy board. Any comments that anybody wants to make at that time, they can. And then, you're coming back to this board with some recommendations from staff and TAC on allocation of some amount of money to TDM, and then the rest will be post-plan. Is that an effective summary?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any questions on this? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Just a quick flag. So you said that the RFP would come back to us just to look at. I know there was a comment period that y'all had asked us for, and we missed that deadline because we had other work ahead of us that day.
Yeah, there'll be, when the contract basically, along with its scope, will come back to this policy board for approval.
Okay, that's helpful. And then I will just flag that in the Clean Air Coalition of CAPCOG, just a couple of days ago, we had talked about the potential adjustment of PM 2.5 standards. And so I know that we're in attainment now, but I just want to make sure that we're keeping our eye on how to make sure that we protect the ability to stay in attainment moving forward. If those numbers change, we'll want to make sure we've got good regional collaboration and keeping that on our radar.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I am watching 2.5.
I appreciate that. And the last thing I'll say is I just appreciate the discussion about the deferred projects and where potential funding might be found. I appreciate there's a lot of deferred projects that may have not been assessed given the carbon reduction work that we want to do moving forward. And so I look forward to having more opportunities to figure out appropriate buckets of money for those specific projects.
All right. Any other discussion?
I have a quick question.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Hi, everyone. Vanessa Fuentes, Austin City Councilwoman. While it's not my first CAMPO meeting, it is my first CAMPO meeting as an official City of Austin appointee, so I'm excited to serve alongside you all. I had two questions. One question was on the authorization of $1 million for this RFP. As you were developing the scope for the RFP, where did you land on the funding amount? Is it up to $1 million, or can you elaborate on the funding level?
I think I can answer that really quickly. At the last meeting, we talked about that, and that was based upon what other entities had done and input from folks who had done that planning before. It may not be that much, but that's how much was set aside for right now, based upon others' track records.
And if we don't need to spend that much, we won't.
Okay, great, yeah. And then my second question is related to the TDM. Is there a list of activities or projects or strategies within TDM that would become available for funding, or is it more of that is kind of the lens that you would look at for any projects that come down the pipeline?
Hi, my name is Deriv. I'm the TDM Program Manager for CAMPO. And to answer your question, the answer is yes. In March, we're going to get a update on the TDM program, and with that, we'll include a list of eligible activities within TDM that the staff and the TAC will recommend to the board.
Good deal. Thank you.
Yes?
Thank you. Allison Alter. I was just wondering, we have, obviously with Project Connect, we have our bus rapid transit programs that are pretty well along in the process. Were those considered as options for this funding?
So it's an eligible activity, council member, but right now, I don't think we've got any deferred projects in there that we would look at. So it could certainly be submitted.
I'm sorry, I had trouble hearing the question because I was moving seats.
I may be missing a piece of this because I wasn't at the last meeting. So as I understood it, there's a large chunk of money that we need to spend by a certain date, or it gets encumbered with a lot of other requirements. And it seems like we have those projects for the bus rapid transit that some of that funding could be moved around if there was alternative funding, and it seems to fall directly under this, and I believe those are in the stage in the letting construction process that might be appropriate. And so I was trying to understand if those had been considered. I understand they're not deferred projects, but if we were looking for projects that had a large impact for carbon reduction, that those would be among those. And so I was trying to understand if those had been considered.
So they haven't been through our transportation improvement program selection process yet. We haven't received anything from Cap Metro yet, but we will certainly sit down and have that conversation with them. And I've got a list of things to talk to Dottie Watkins about, and I'll put that on the list.
Okay, so that could fall under the TDM umbrella then for spending by that
It
point?
potentially could, yes. I mean, it's certainly an eligible activity.
Okay, thank you. I'd appreciate it if you could follow up with that. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, don't see any more hands on that item. So thank you, Ryan, for the update.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on to item number 10, discuss 2023 federal performance measures target update. That's you again, Ryan.
All right, thank you. So just bringing back the 2023 federal performance measure targets. If you're new to the board, this is something that we do annually. We have our federal performance measures that we adopt on an annual basis, and this is part of a kind of a transportation performance management system, basically where we just take a strategic approach to and using all the information available to make informed investment and policy decisions towards national performance goals. So we do that through our performance-based project selection process. And today we're focusing on adopting the regional targets. And then we also monitor our investment progress and the impact of those investments. And then we also wrap up everything into our the transportation improvement program, our regional transportation plan, and then any other plans and studies that we do. We kind of take this TPM approach. So just want to kind of take a step back. The performance measure goal areas were set by Congress. This was, I think, this originated in MAP 21. It has been carried through the FAST Act as well as the IIJA. I'm not going to read through them, but those are the goal areas on the left. And then our partners at FHWA and FTA set the goals and the specific performance measures, and then we adopt both the states and MPOs adopt the targets, and then we incorporate those into our plan and program. So these, there's a lot on here, but we've got basically on the federal highway side, we have our PM1, 2, and 3 performance measures, and then we also on the transit side, we set transit asset management targets as well as transit safety targets. So we did, I do want to point out that we did receive our PM2 and 3 targets last Friday afternoon, so we'll be bringing that back as well and updating this. But on safety, we have 5 targets that we set. Again, if you're looking at the numbers, these are statewide numbers. The most straightforward approach that we take is that we adopt the statewide targets and support the state in our investment decisions in regards to the state. So that's why the numbers look like they do. You can see the original targets for 2022, and in brackets you can see the updated targets there. So this is in support of Road to Zero. This is TxDOT's program where they're set for 0 fatalities by the year 2050. So you'll see these targets go down every single year up until that point. And so they're getting a little bit more aggressive than years past in setting lower and lower targets. The only thing that has gone up is the rate of serious injuries, and that's because of the population growth in the state. Means that the rate of serious injuries has gone up a little bit. So I did want to kind of talk about safety. Kind of seems to be the thing that we always kind of focus on. So there's a lot. Targets are great. They're a great benchmark, really, where we can kind of measure success, but it really comes down to the actionable investment decisions that we make as a policy board and those actions that we're taking. So we've obviously want to point out that we have a regional state of safety report that we do every year. We do have a draft regional traffic safety plan that will be brought to y'all later this year, but that will also be enhanced by the SS4A grant that we did receive. And I know Ashby is going to talk a little bit about that later, but there's a lot of planning efforts that we can do as a policy board to help inform and support regional partners in addressing safety. And then one of the questions I think we have an interactive data dashboard for all of these performance measures. I would encourage everyone, it's linked in the presentation you received, but please, I would encourage everyone to visit our website and check out our performance metrics dashboard. And what you'll find there is probably all the questions you can probably ask today will probably be answered on that dashboard, because oftentimes, we do set state targets, we adopt the state targets, but the question is always, how are we doing as a region? You can answer all of those questions, and you can really take a deep dive onto specific streets and things like that where these accidents are happening. It's all located in this dashboard, so I'd encourage everyone to take a look at that. And I think, as Lori mentioned, during her presentation, that we have looked at potentially setting our own safety targets, and we'll look at that through the SS4A and through our traffic safety plan. But right now, obviously, I think we've just come off the worst year we've ever had, so it's definitely an important discussion to have and regarding our targets. So that's really kind of concludes the presentation. I'll take any questions if you have any, and then we'll be bringing that back next month, or the next policy board meeting, for potential adoption. We'll have the updated PM2 and 3 targets, and I'll go ahead and get those sent out this week since we received them on Friday. That way you'll have time to look through those as well. So that concludes my presentation. So thank you.
Any questions of Ryan on his presentation? Yes, go ahead, Councilman.
How scared will I be looking at the bridge road conditions PM2?
But the bridge condition data? Yeah, I haven't had a chance to dig into them yet, but I think as a region, we actually do pretty well. I may throw this over to Tucker. He's probably more intimate with that information.
Did you say how scared will you be looking at our bridge and roads conditions?
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, our road conditions for the Austin district have been, out of 25 districts, we've been in the top 5, which is incredible for a metro district. When you see the higher rated pavement conditions all across the state, it's in places like Lufkin and Childress with smaller programs. So with the amount of traffic we have and the dollars we spent, we're very proud of the pavement conditions. So we've been in the top 5 since I've come here. I'm not taking credit for it. Okay. Not credit at all, but just very impressed of where the Austin district has performed. When we did our annual bridge program report last year with Heather and her bridge engineers and the team, the Austin district had the #1 bridge conditions in the state as well. So now a lot of that has to do with, we have a lot of new bridges, and bridges designed and built for 50, 75 years. So we have to get them on a maintenance program. But I think our structurally deficient percentage was like 1.5%.
Oh, wow.
District-wide, which is just
wow.
And are you talking about
incredible.
on system?
On system.
Yeah.
Yes, on system. The off system is a little bit of a lower percentage, but it's still very good for the size of our district and the number of the inventory that we have.
And then, Council Member, if you look at both pavement and bridge condition across the country. Texas is at or near the top on each one. So we as, when I say we, I mean, I was TxDOT at once myself, so sometimes I fall back. TxDOT is near the top on that. They do some of the best, considering the high number of bridges they have, they also do the best job of keeping the bridges up. And also, even with the high number of lane miles they have to maintain, they do some of the best work in the country of keeping it up.
And I've got to say, this interactive tool, really good job. That's absolutely phenomenal right there as well.
Thank you. We will tell the consultant.
All right, any other comments? Okay, Ashby.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, brief report. So, as you heard earlier, we received notification a couple of weeks ago that our federal grant application for the Safe Streets for All, SS4A, for the new acronym you'll get to hear, was granted. So we will be receiving $2.32 million from the U.S. Department of Transportation to start that work. And just so briefly, we will be looking at helping the counties and the local governments within those counties develop safety projects that we could then implement either through funding available to this body or through potential implementation funding, future discretionary funding from U.S. Department of Transportation. Also, when that notice came out, Travis County had submitted a grant as well for planning. That grant was also awarded by U.S. Department of Transportation. Congratulations to Travis County. They are receiving a grant in the amount of $350,000 for their work. That work will dovetail into what we are doing as CAMPO, and even though Travis County is getting its own funding, they will still be a stakeholder on what we do, and we then lastly, the City of Austin submitted a implementation grant for the same category for the Safe Streets for All funding. That was also awarded, so our region did quite well in this round for this particular discretionary grant category. So the City of Austin will be receiving $22 million to implement, so go out and construct safety projects across the City of Austin. So I want to say thanks to Will Liska on the CAMPO staff for leading the effort to get this grant put together and put out there, and then also thank you to our general engineering consultant, BGE, that helped develop the work for the actual application to get it submitted. Next steps on that, so we will be awaiting instructions from U.S. Department of Transportation on the transfer of funding to us. This is a new category for them, a new process. So it's not coming through TxDOT. We're not sure how it gets to us yet. So I've got questions into Federal Highways to ask about process. In the interim, CAMPO staff will begin the process of reaching out to the local governments again to start the planning process. So when the money comes through, we are ready to hit the ground and get going. And the timeline for completion of this plan is early 2025. Then second item, CAMPO's current office space lease expires in October of this year. CAMPO staff has been working with a commercial broker over the last 8 months to explore options. We are close to agreeing on a lease with University Federal Credit Union for space in their building located at STEC and MOPAC. And once that agreement is finalized or close to being finalized, I don't have the authority to sign. It's above the amount that I can sign for, so it will have to be approved by this body. So we will look at bringing that back at the next board meeting to keep in the timeline that we're on there. But thanks to Councilmember Batayer and to our General Counsel, Tim Tuggy, who have connections at UFCU, and so we're getting a sweetheart deal in some ways.
No. You're getting a fair deal.
Yes, a very fair deal. Then lastly, last Wednesday, do we have the slide, Ryan? Thank you. So last Wednesday, Ryan and I participated in a meeting with TxDOT leadership and the Transportation Planning and Programming Division. Also on that meeting were the other large MPOs in the state, so San Antonio, El Paso, Rio Grande Valley Metropolitan Planning Organization in McAllen, then Houston and Dallas-Fort Worth. And so the purpose of the meeting was to discuss our utilization and programming rates for the TxDOT funding categories 5 and 7. As you heard earlier from Heather, we don't receive category 5 because we're in attainment, but we do receive category 7, and that's what's allocated by this body. When we got to category 7, as you can see on the slide here, TxDOT showed who's been implementing the most and using the most, and CAMPO was first in the state on one of the categories there. Which one was it? So no, we were first
in
on
both.
category 7 for the 4-year summary, and then we were first. We just beat out San Antonio, just barely, but a win is a win. Looks like the 2-year summary as well.
Yeah, we're first in the 2 and the 4-year.
Yes. So why am I bringing that up other than to brag? So the discussion we had earlier where Heather was presenting what's happening with categories 2, 4, 8, and 12, and drafts being submitted to the state for consideration. The more we utilize what's in front of us, the more likely we are to get more when we ask for more, and there's more available. So I want to say thank you to Tucker and to Heather for their hard work on, for one, keeping things on track and ready to go. And then also to my staff person, Ryan Collins, who is always working with the local governments for the projects that this body has allocated Cat 7 to, working with them to make sure that projects are moving and that we are making good use of the funds. So that was it for me.
And I just want to add to that, for those of you who are relatively new to the board, this is commonplace, but prior to about 5 or 6 years ago, we had in our region some projects that had been languishing for quite a while, and we decided we were going to do a better job of self-regulating, and Ryan and team have put together a really rigorous program of making sure that those projects, we get updates on them, and even kind of are self-policing ourselves to say if after a certain period of time nothing has been done, the money goes back, because we want to continue to emphasize that good behavior, because Ashby is very correct. If we continue to do that, we'll not only get our projects implemented, but may have the opportunity for other monies that kind of lapse in other places. So keep up the good work, team, and congratulations on that. So we'll move on to the item number 12, the CAMPO Executive Committee. If you all remember, that is comprised of I generally appoint that in the first meeting, but since we were doing officer elections and whatnot, right now it is approaching a large group. There's 10 people that would serve on that. Myself as chair, Councilmember Mateo as vice chair, Commissioner Beckett as secretary, but also wearing a Bastrop County hat, Commissioner Inglesby, Hayes County, Commissioner Terrio from Caldwell, Judge Oakley from Burnett, Tucker from TxDOT, Matt Harris from Cap Metro, Judge Brown from Travis County, and Councilmember Ellis. I'll let y'all arm wrestle it out, or Mayor Pro Tem rather, but I would appoint you in the absence of somebody else wanting to do that to the executive committee. That's 10 people, and that is kind of a big committee. We haven't needed to meet very often. Kim has sent out a standing meeting that more often than not we have canceled simply because there hasn't been work that we've needed to do with the executive committee. So that's kind of where it will stand for now, unless I don't see a need for it this month, but it'll be put on your calendars. Yes.
When should we make a determination for City of Austin? I know we've started the internal conversation about who has the capacity and interest in serving, so I just want to make sure we're ahead of any
just let me know
deadlines.
by the next meeting, that's fine. And again, it's, I think we met once last year. We are always going to meet to do the executive director's evaluation, and then other times as needed, so.
We'll let you know as soon
Okay.
as we've finalized it. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
So the mayor doesn't want to join CAMPO again?
I haven't seen him just knocking it out to do that, so.
I don't know that it has elevated on his list quite yet, but I know he's very curious about the work we're doing.
Yes, he's passionate about transportation. All right, that's all I have. The next TAC meeting will be February 27th, and the next policy board meeting, March 13th. Ashby, is there anything I missed?
No, Madam Chair.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
We very often cancel the March meeting. Do you have any anticipation of whether that will be the case or not?
Ashby, you tell us if there's pressing, I do think we may have to authorize the lease.
That, we may have to do that, but I'm going to check with the broker
Okay.
on that. But otherwise, we don't have anything else that would need to go forward right now, council member. We
Okay,
try to
thank you.
make
Just
sure
some
we
of
don't do
us, some of
that.
us have spring break and
Yes.
kids home, so we're just trying to,
Kids are regular schedule.
trying to understand
I
what was
hear
going
you.
on there. Okay, thank you.
All right. So with that, we will adjourn at 3:05. Thank you all for being here.
Yay.